Okay, we're going to be covering week 2 for English 103. And as you can see in week 2, I have an overview video. This video is meant to kind of introduce you to the particular assignments. The topic overview is just a written overview of what we're going to be covering in this module, the objectives. Then, of course, as I said before, always pay attention to the task list. The task list for this time is make sure you read these pages in our textbook. And again, anything in green is a hot link. And then read and review all the items in the resource section. And then I'm telling you here, pay particular attention to the I Believe essay instructions. So this is our first essay I'm assigning. We've done a little bit of brainstorming and pre-writing in week 1. And we are going to get started. But what I have found the most beneficial for students is if I give you the full instructions and the full grading right, so you know what you're going for in the end with this. Just remember, a lot of our resources have other hot links embedded in them. So don't forget, I also provide student samples, and I want you to complete the activities and assignments. So in the resources, the I Believe essay instructions and rubric, this is very important. I want you to go over this. And I actually provide a video walking through the instructions. Now, the essay instructions are inspired from NPR. So that website you're exploring, that was a live, or not, well, not live, but a recorded radio show for a lot of years on NPR, and they have basically since put it in an archive. However, it's really inspired across the nation people to kind of think about things. Now, I do want to emphasize the goal of the show was not to persuade someone to believe what you believe. The goal was simply to explain what you believe and why you believe it. So modeling after that show, this assignment is the same thing. I want to emphasize that. This narrative that you're going to write, the goal is not to persuade. It's not to convince someone to believe what you believe. It is to tell them what you believe. In other words, inform them about what you believe and explain why you believe it. And of course, the explaining the why will be examples from your life or the support of the items in your thesis. So how do you choose a topic? We've done a little bit of pre-writing. Remember, I said look back on some experiences, start examining what were beliefs that you have. And you had to link an experience to a belief. You had to have 5 of them in week 1. But ultimately, this essay is about you. Now remember, personal narratives, you are allowed to use the word I. I just request you use it sparingly is all, okay? But you should not say you for anything because we're not trying to persuade someone. And you're going to give a detailed narration of one belief. As I said before, we have multiple beliefs in our life. We live our daily lives on multiple beliefs that guide us. You're just going to pick one to talk about. And I give you 3 examples here, and I believe these are the 3 sample essays that you can also read if you look in resources. But Army Major Peter Godfrey wrote his belief in making sacrifices for one's country. And then in his essay, he discusses wearing a bracelet bearing the name of a young sergeant he served with who was killed by a landmine. So again, the experience, he goes into detail of what maybe formed that belief or affirmed that belief. Attorney Betsy Buckwalter wrote I Believe essay on her belief of an importance of a good long walk outdoors. And then of course she goes on to support this and explain why she believes that, on how she gets so absorbed in legal work, walking her dog Allie helps her live in the moment, embrace small, unexpected delights of the world. So you can see there's a huge range between this particular one, belief in sacrificing for your country, and I believe in a good long walk outdoors. So this is, I want to emphasize to you, do not worry if it's quote unquote deep or serious, those kind of, that's okay. We're practicing our writing, not judging the belief at all. Okay, essay organization. There are some criteria for this. You need to organize the essay as you would do any other academic essay, meaning I want to see an introduction, I want body paragraphs in support, and I want a conclusion. Now the conclusion is a little flexible because we're writing a creative nonfiction here. So you can be creative in this, in the fact of you're going to be using descriptors and adjectives, and you want the person to visualize things. But it has to be nonfiction, which means everything you write about must be true. It really happened. It's something you really believe in. So let's talk about the introduction first. In the introduction, your essay needs to revolve around the thesis statement. The thesis statement for this essay is a statement of your belief. And I want you to use that phrase, I believe, somewhere in your thesis statement. That is required. Now, thesis usually comes at the end of the introduction. So you have your introduction, you're hooking the reader, you're leading them in, giving a little background, and then leading into your thesis statement at the end of the introduction. In your thesis statement, the signal for me as a reader or any other reader will be you have the phrase, I believe, in there. Now you can start it with that. Like you saw me practice on the pre-writing. I believe in telling the truth all the time, even if it's uncomfortable. Okay, I triggered, there's my belief, right? But it doesn't have to be right at the beginning. So here's another example. Because I experience life as both overweight and underweight, I believe I have found the perfect size that's right for me. So the trigger word, I believe, is in there, but it didn't start with that. So as long as the phrase is in there, you're okay. But the thesis statement should fall toward the end of your introduction. The body, these are the moments or memories that are in support of your thesis. These would be your experiences, right? And the best narratives focus on one event. Now, if you can't do that, you just don't have an event that's big enough to write about, you are allowed to include a couple of events in support of your thesis. However, I do want you to kind of really think about this, think about that belief. Maybe that belief is not the one you want to write about if you can't expound enough on it through an experience either. It can be when your belief was formed or tested, or even when it changed. Maybe you believed in one thing and then you had this experience and it changed. No problem. The conclusion is a little bit flexible. If your story has a natural ending that brings the reader back to the initial thesis, that's fine. However, as a writer, you need to also share maybe your opinion, maybe the moral of the story. You're welcome to restate the thesis in your conclusion. However, I want you to restate it in a new and different way. Do not use the same wording. So what are the writing requirements? Here are requirements of the essay that has to focus on just one single belief. I don't want a list of beliefs. Your essay is only concerned with sharing your belief, not persuading others. So don't get in what I call preacher mode or judgy mode, where you're right, the world is wrong. No, you're just sharing, okay? Couple of criteria. Write in the first person. You are allowed to use I. I do not want to see you use the word you. Do please interject your personality into the essay. This is a glimpse of you. For this particular essay, I only want you to use one sourcing within it. One source means you can use it as a quote, a statistic. I don't care where you get your source, as long as you cite it correctly. That means cite it correctly in text and have your works cited page. So on your works cited page, remember, you're going to only have one single item on it. Works cited is simply a separate page that gives me information about where you got your in-text citing. So that's the one we're going to track down. Your essay is minimally full 3 pages. So I get this question all the time. How do I define 3 full pages? That means there's at least 1 word that spills onto the 4th page. Okay, that's 3 full. And then of course your essay has to conform to MLA document design. I want to set up an MLA document design. Once again, we have resources going over that. You might want to go over that, and I'll talk here a minute about that. You should explore your talents of describing scenes, moments, and people. This is the creative part. Be creative in it. Don't be dry. Don't just list a bunch of items. Be creative. Get the reader immersed in the experience or in your example. The other one that I did not put on here, but I do, I think I talk about it when we work thesis pretty heavily. You are going to have to give me a belief in the affirmative. That means you have to talk about something you do believe in. You're not allowed to say what you don't believe in. So a really good example of this is there was an essay on NPR written by Penn Jillette. If you don't know who that is, Penn and Teller, he's half of that magic comedy team. Very smart man, wrote an essay, submitted to NPR, but NPR's rules were, it has to be affirmative. You have to say what you do believe. You can't say, I don't believe. And I believe he is an atheist. So, you know, he does not believe in God, but you can't say that. You cannot say, I don't believe in God. It has to be affirmative. You have to say what you do believe. So he flipped the wording. He's pretty clever. And he says, I believe there is no God. So it's affirmative. That's what you believe. You believe there is no God. And it, of course, met the criteria. So that's my one word of warning to you on this as well. You have to say what you do believe, not what you do not believe. Now, there's a Writing Center reminder on this. Don't forget, you're going to have to do a Writing Center appointment for the essay. This is the perfect one. Get it started. You can do a consultation, by the way. You can do a Writing Center consultation at any stage of your writing. You do not need to have the essay done to do a consultation. You can do a consultation for brainstorming. You can do a consultation the pre-writing. You can do a consultation, you know, you've got everything but the citing done, or you can't figure out your topic, or maybe you're half done and you're like, I don't know where to go from here, okay? It's meant to help you. It's not a judgment at all, and it's free. You'll just simply make it easier and make your paper or essay stronger by working with a consultant. So keep in mind that's going to be required for this essay. So if you want to get a jump start on that, what I have found students have told me, the first one is kind of hard because they don't know, they're really nervous, they don't know what to expect. And then they do the consultation and found it wonderful and they found it really valuable. So then they would make more. They would do multiple consultations for the essays because it helped them so much and they found it beneficial. Again, you can do as many as you want. I do not limit you. I simply say you have to do at least one for every essay. So my recommendation on this is you schedule one right away and get it on the books, make an appointment, no matter where you're at in the essay, and then just work with them at wherever stage you are at with the essay, and they'll work with you, okay? And then once you see how great it is, then you can always make more appointments and continue on. Okay, so activities and assignments for week 2. Now remember, these are things we're just going through. These are all resources. You should go through those resources and get yourself familiar. Assignment number 1, email etiquette. You need to send me an email. Now this is the one assignment this semester you cannot upload on Moodle. I literally want you to send me a professional email from your SMC email address to my SMC email address. And then in that email, you have to cover this criteria right here, cover all of these items. And then I also give you assignment directions here and the grading rubric here. So the grading rubric tells you what I'm going to be looking for and the scoring. The assignment itself, the document gives you very specific directions with some guidance. So I talk to you about email in general. I say, don't forget a subject line, make sure you use a title, make sure you identify yourself at the end of the email, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then I tell you in the assignment, this is what I want you to talk to me about in the email. And then I also give you a guide for how long. The email doesn't need to be more than a short paragraph to cover all 3 points. So you're not writing me a long email, but you do have to cover the criteria if you want full credit. And then again, you're like, well, I covered all those things. I wonder if she's going to give me an A or a B. Look at the grading rubric. I break it out for you. These are the things I'm looking for. These are how many points each one is worth. Okay? The next one is thesis. So we did some pre-writing. We started thinking about our experiences, possible beliefs, right? In week 1. So in week 2 now, I tell you, you have to complete response to the sample and your pre-writing. It's important. Both of those are already done and submitted before you do this. Don't start with the thesis and then go back and do those other things. So if you have not completed week 1, complete week 1. It is important. These scaffold and build, so we want to do them in order. So essentially, I tell you, download the attached document, answer the questions in regards to your possible belief paper, and I tell you why we're doing this. It's meant to help and develop your topic. So again, here is the item. The directions are embedded in the document. You open the document, and you're going to use this document to simply type out your answers and then resubmit. So you'll notice I did enable editing. And then this first one, answer the following question in regards to possible belief paper. This is meant to direct you in exploring and developing your topic. Write in complete sentences. Okay? So here is what I want you to do. What memory, experience, moment have you chosen to write about for your This I Believe essay? So out of those 5, what have you kind of narrowed it down? What do you want to focus on? And then I give you an example. I want to write about the time I told my father to get out of the house, stop verbally abusing my mother. And then I give you another example. I believe in loving my pets with all my heart because I want to remember each precious moment with them during their short lives. Okay, so I gave you 2 examples. Why I give you examples? Because you got to give enough about that experience that you've chosen. You can't just say dog bite. You have to, give me a little bit more. Writing complete sentences, 1 or 2 sentences should cover it. And then, of course, you do the same thing here, writing in complete sentences. And then here, writing in complete sentences. So number 3 is kind of important, is what are you going to need the reader to understand in order for them to follow your story? So you might have to talk about places, when did this happen, year, day, month, ages of people, names of people. And now again, this needs to be done in complete sentences. So number 3, you're probably looking at least a paragraph there, okay? Number 2 and number 1 is quite a bit shorter. You can probably get away with 1 or 2 sentences on those. Make sense? So after you've done it, you enable editing and then, clickety, clickety, clickety type answers. I do ask, please leave a space so that, you're not running right after the example. It's just easier for me when I grade, okay? So leave a space after each one so I know, oh, there, that's where your answer starts, okay? Save, you would save your work. I'm going to say don't save, but you save it. And then wherever you save it on the computer, you go down here. Yours is going to say submit or add submission. Click in there and then upload your file. So you're using that document to do your work and then upload. Good so far? So those 2 items are due. Let's check because I forgot. So in the assignment, they always tell you when it's due. It's always at line. So this one is due Sunday, September 20th, 1 minute before midnight. I believe the other one is due that time as well. Yep, Sunday, September 20th. So week 2 items are due September 20th. Now you will remember all of week 1 items are also due September 20th. And I did that deliberately. I gave you an extra week because of delayed starts. So moving forward, almost all weekly modules, all assignments and every module will be due the Sunday of that week. So this is one of the rare times week one you had 2 weeks to do something. Moving forward though, they'll always be due Sundays by midnight. Any questions that we might need on the recording? Yes.
What is the first essay due?
I don't know, but let me see if I posted it. I believe it's going to be week 3 or 4. I think it's week 4. That's a really good question. Let me see if I can find it. I'm going to peek ahead to when I actually assign it. Nope, that's the outline. Let's look here. Okay, so conference sheet draft is so it's going to be in week 5. Nope, I lied. Week 6. So you've got maybe 2-3 weeks yet. Okay, does that answer your question sufficiently?
Yeah.
Okay, good question. So again, I'm not officially assigning you to start writing that essay. What we're doing is our pre-writing and building so that when you go to start your drafting, you're in a good place and you can really start doing some good drafting. Any other questions before I stop the recording for week 2? Back to week 2. Okay, I'm going to stop recording.